Walk into any car dealership right now and you'll notice something disturbing. Sales floors are quiet, finance managers are sitting idle, and out back, the inventory lots are absolutely packed with brand new 2026 models collecting dust. We're not talking about a slow sales week, we're talking about a complete market rejection. Dealers are panicking because these cars have zero buyers, and the longer they sit, the more money they lose. Today, I'm counting down the 15 new cars dealers literally cannot sell based on market day supply data and dealer inventory reports. Number 1 is a complete disaster that'll shock you. Let's go from bad to absolute catastrophic. We're counting down from number 15 all the way to number 1. I'm using CarEdge, market day, supply data, combined with dealer inventory tracking, which shows how long it takes to sell through current stock. Anything over 100 days is concerning. Anything over 200 days is a crisis. These numbers are absolutely insane. We're talking vehicles sitting for over a year, with dealers begging manufacturers for buyback programs. Trust me, that number 1 spot will make you question everything you thought you knew about the car market. Nissan Ariya. At number 15, the 2026 Nissan Ariya is sitting at 178 days of supply. Over 6,200 of them are gathering dust at dealerships with an average price of $54,800. Here's the thing with the Ariya. It's an electric crossover trying to compete with Tesla, and it's failing spectacularly. That 87 kilowatt-hour battery that's supposed to deliver 304 miles of range, in real-world winter driving, owners are seeing closer to 210 miles. That's a 30% shortfall that makes this thing borderline unusable for anyone in cold climates. But here's where it gets bad. The Ariya uses Nissan's CADMO charging standard for DC fast charging, which is basically a dead format in North America. Most new charging networks are CCS or Tesla NACS. Good luck finding a CHAD EMO charger that isn't broken or occupied. Owners literally describe charging as a scavenger hunt that ends in disappointment. And let's talk about the interior. Nissan calls it minimalist. I call it cheap. Everything is hard plastic and touch-sensitive buttons that don't work half the time. You're paying $55,000 for an interior that feels like a $35,000 Rogue. Meanwhile, the Tesla Model Y exists. Better range, better charging network, better resale value, and it costs $10,000 less. Why pay $54,800 for a Nissan with an obsolete charging standard when you can get the market leader for less money? Yeah, people are passing. Volkswagen ID.Buzz. Number 14 is the Volkswagen ID.Buzz at 185 days. About 3,400 of them are sitting at dealers with an average price of $69,500. This is what I call a nostalgia trap vehicle. VW took the iconic microbus name and slapped it on an overpriced electric minivan that nobody asked for. Their retro styling that's supposed to trigger warm fuzzy feelings, it just makes the ID.Buzz look like a toy. And at $70,000, this is the most expensive minivan you can buy that isn't a Mercedes. But here's the brutal truth. The ID.Buzz uses the same MEB platform and software as the ID.4, which has been a reliability nightmare. We're talking about the same 12-volt battery drain issues, the same laggy infotainment, the same electrical gremlins. VW took a proven failure and made it $20,000 more expensive. The range? 234 miles. That's pathetic for a $70,000 vehicle in 2026. The Kia EV9, which is bigger, better equipped and more practical, offers 304 miles for $10,000 less. Owners report that the ID.Buzz feels like it's struggling with its own weight. That 91 kilowatt-hour battery is hauling around 6,100 pounds of van, and it shows. Why pay $69,500 for VW's nostalgia experiment when you can get a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid for $50,000 or a Kia EV9 for $59,000? The ID.Buzz doesn't stand a chance. Cadillac Lyriq. At number 13, the Cadillac Lyriq is sitting at 192 days, with over 8,900 of them on dealer lots. Average price is $67,800. The Lyriq had potential. Cadillac's first real electric vehicle, built on GM's Ultium platform, with luxury appointments and 312 miles of range. But here's the problem. GM cannot build a reliable infotainment system to save their life. That massive 33-inch curved display looks impressive in photos. In reality, it freezes, crashes and reboots while you're driving. Owners describe losing climate control, navigation and even backup cameras mid-drive because the screen decided to take a nap. We're talking about critical safety features tied to software that's less stable than a Windows 95 PC, but it gets worse. The Ultium battery charging curve is terrible. The Lyriq advertises 190 kilowatts DC fast charging, but it only hits that peak for about 5 minutes before throttling down to 50 kilowatts. A 10 to 80% charge takes nearly an hour, which makes road trips a nightmare. Meanwhile, the Genesis electrified GV70 exists. Better build quality, more refined driving experience, faster charging, and it's $5,000 cheaper. Or you could get a Tesla Model X for similar money with an actual functioning supercharger network. Why pay $67,800 for a Cadillac with buggy software when you can get proven luxury EVs that actually work? Nobody wants this thing. Chrysler 300 number 12 brings us to the Chrysler 300 at 198 days. Over 4,100 of them are sitting unsold at an average price of $48,600. Here's the thing with the 300. It's a car that died in 2023, got briefly resurrected in 2024, and is now dying again in 2026. Chrysler can't figure out if this is a performance sedan, a luxury cruiser, or a fleet rental car, and buyers are equally confused. That 5.7-liter Hemi 5.8 that sounds so good on paper? It's mated to an 8-speed transmission that was designed in 2011 and feels every bit its age. The shifts are clunky, the programming is outdated, and it guzzles gas like it's 2005. We're talking 16 miles per gallon in mixed driving, when competitors are delivering 25 plus miles per gallon with turbocharged 4s. And let's talk about the interior. The platform is from 2011. The infotainment runs software from 2019. The switchgear is straight out of a Dodge Charger from 5 years ago. You're paying nearly $50,000 for a car that feels a decade old the second you sit inside. Meanwhile, the Dodge Charger exists with the new Hurricane Twin Turbo 6. Better fuel economy, modern interior, and it actually has a future. Why pay $48,600 for yesterday's sedan when tomorrow's version costs the same? The 300 doesn't stand a chance. Mazda MX-30. At number 11, the Mazda MX-30 is sitting at 204 days with about 2,800 on dealer lots. Average price is $36,500. The MX-30 is what happens when a manufacturer builds an electric car for a market that doesn't exist. That 35.5 kilowatt-hour battery delivers just 100 miles of range. Let that sink in, 100 miles. In 2026, when the average EV delivers 250 plus miles, Mazda thought 100 was acceptable. But here's what really kills it. Mazda says the small battery is for environmental reasons, to reduce mining impact. That's a fancy way of saying they couldn't figure out how to package a real battery in this platform. So instead of admitting defeat, they marketed the compliance car as eco-conscious. Owners describe range anxiety that starts at 80% charge. You're constantly calculating if you can make it to work and back. And charging? The MX-30 only supports 36 kilowatts DC fast charging, which means a 10 to 80% charge takes 40 minutes. For 60 miles of range. That's absurd. Meanwhile, the Chevrolet Bolt EUV exists with 247 miles of range for $27,800. That's $8,700 less for 147 more miles of range. Or you could get a used Nissan Leaf with more range for half the price. Why pay $36,500 for a car with golf cart range? Nobody wants this thing. Lincoln Nautilus. Number 10 is the Lincoln Nautilus at 211 days. Nearly 7,400 of them are sitting at dealers with an average price of $56,900. The Nautilus is Lincoln's attempt to go up market, and the market is rejecting it completely. This thing is built on the same CD6 platform as the Ford Edge, which means you are paying $20,000 extra for a Lincoln badge and some nicer leather. The 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6 makes 335 horsepower, which sounds good until you realize it's paired with an 8-speed automatic that hunts for gears like a confused teenager. Owners report hesitation of the line, jerky shifts in traffic, and a transmission that refuses to downshift when you need power for passing. But here's where it gets really bad. The Nautilus interior, despite the luxury pretensions, is filled with hard plastics and switchgear borrowed from the Ford parts bin. You're sitting in a $57,000 Lincoln recognizing climate controls from a $32,000 Explorer. That shatters the luxury illusion instantly. And reliability? The 2.7-liter EcoBoost has a lovely reputation for carbon buildup on the intake valves, requiring $1,200 plus walnut blasting services every 50,000 miles, plus reports of turbocharger failures and oil consumption issues past 60,000 miles. Meanwhile, the Lexus RX exists. Better reliability, better resale value, actual luxury materials, and it costs the same. Why pay $56,900 for a Ford in Lincoln clothing when you can get proven Japanese luxury? Yeah, people are passing. Subaru Solterra. At number 9, the Subaru Solterra is sitting at 217 days with over 3,200 on lots. Average price is $48,700. The Solterra is what happens when Subaru decides to build an electric vehicle without understanding electric vehicles. This thing is mechanically identical to the Toyota bZ4X, which means it inherited all of Toyota's first EV mistakes without any of Toyota's brand cachet. That 72.8 kilowatt-hour battery delivers just 228 miles of range. In a segment where the Hyundai Ioniq 5 offers 303 miles and the Kia EV6 offers 310 miles, Subaru thought 228 was competitive. It's not. Owners in cold climates report seeing as low as 150 miles in winter, which makes this thing nearly unusable. But here's what really kills buyer confidence. In 2023, Toyota and Subaru recalled the bZ4X and Solterra because the wheels could literally fall off. Yes, you read that right. The wheel bolts could loosen and cause wheels to detach. That destroyed any trust buyers had in this platform. And let's talk about charging. The Solterra only supports 100 kilowatts DC fast charging when competitors are doing 250 kilowatts. A 10 to 80% charge takes 45 minutes, and that's assuming you find a working charger. The only thing worse than slow charging is slow charging with low range. Meanwhile, the Ioniq 5 and EV6 exist. Better range, faster charging, better styling, and they cost less. Why pay $48,700 for Subaru's half-baked EV experiment? The Solterra doesn't stand a chance. Genesis G560 number 8 is the Genesis G560 at 223 days. About 2,900 of them are gathering dust with an average price of $59,800. The G560 is the most frustrating entry on this list because it's actually a good car. The problem? Genesis is a luxury brand with zero brand recognition in America, and the GV60 looks like a concept car that escaped from a design studio. That styling, with the crystalline sphere shift knob and two-tone paint, is polarizing. Potential buyers walk away because they can't take it seriously. It looks like a toy, not a $60,000 luxury EV. And in the luxury segment, styling matters as much as specs. But here's what really kills it. The Genesis dealer network is almost non-existent. If you live more than 100 miles from a major city, you simply cannot own this car. That geographic limitation cuts the buyer pool to a fraction. Plus, Genesis service centers are reporting month-long wait times for even basic maintenance. The GV60 shares its eGMP platform with the Ioniq 5 and EV6, which means you're paying $20,000 extra for a Genesis badge most Americans don't recognize. Why pay $59,800 for a luxury EV from a brand with no dealerships when you can get an Audi Q4 e-tron or Tesla Model Y for similar money? Hey, real quick, if you're finding this market data helpful, hit that like button. It helps us a lot. Alright, let's keep going. Alfa Romeo Tonale. At number 7, the Alfa Romeo Tonale is sitting at 234 days with over 3,600 on dealer lots. Average price is $46,900. The Tonale is Alfa Romeo's attempt to build a compact luxury crossover, and it's failing on every level. This thing is built on a Stellantis platform shared with the Jeep Compass, which means you're paying luxury prices for Jeep bones. The 2.0-liter Turbo 4 makes 256 horsepower, which sounds adequate until you realize the Tonale weighs 3,800 pounds.
While the materials
it feels sluggish, the 9-speed automatic is hesitant, and the driving dynamics that Alfa Romeo is famous for are completely absent. This handles like a Jeep because it basically is a Jeep. But here's where it gets bad. Alfa Romeo reliability is legendary for all the wrong reasons. Owners are already reporting electrical gremlins at under 10,000 miles. Infotainment freezes, check engine lights, battery drain issues. We're talking about a brand new vehicle falling apart before the first oil change. And the dealer network? Alfa Romeo has maybe 100 dealers in the entire United States. If something breaks, and it will, you're towing this thing hundreds of miles to the nearest service center. That's unacceptable for a $47,000 vehicle. Meanwhile, the BMW X1 exists. Better reliability, better dealer network, better resale value, and it drives like a BMW should. Why pay $46,900 for a Jeep Compass in Alfa Romeo clothing? Nobody wants this thing. Nissan Z number 6 brings us to the Nissan Z at 241 days. Over 4,700 of them are sitting unsold at an average price of $51,800. The Z had so much hype. Nissan's return to affordable sports cars with retro styling and the twin-turbo V6. But here's the brutal truth. The market for $52,000 sports cars evaporated, and Nissan didn't get the memo. That 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 makes 400 horsepower, which sounds great until you realize it's paired with a 9-speed automatic that's slow, clunky, and ruins the entire driving experience. The manual transmission option helps, but even then, the shifter feel is vague and the clutch is heavy. But here's what really kills it. The Z is competing against the Toyota Supra, which offers similar performance for $45,000 and has BMW engineering underneath. Or you could get a used Corvette C7 for $40,000 with a V8 and better driving dynamics. The Z is stuck in no man's land. And reliability? This is Nissan's first year with this twin-turbo setup. Early reports show turbocharger oil leaks, transmission issues, and cooling system problems. Nobody wants to be the guinea pig on an all-new powertrain from Nissan, whose reliability reputation has been trashed for a decade. Why pay $51,800 for Nissan sports car experiment when proven alternatives exist for less money? The Z doesn't stand a chance. Jeep Wagoneer S. At number 5, the all-new Jeep Wagoneer S is sitting at 267 days. Over 2,100 of them are on dealer lots with an average price of $78,400. The Wagoneer S is Jeep's first fully electric SUV, and it's a complete disaster. That name alone is confusing. It's not related to the Grand Wagoneer. It's not built on the same platform. It's just Jeep slapping the Wagoneer name on an EV and hoping brand recognition sells it. That 100 kilowatt-hour battery delivers 300 miles of range, which sounds acceptable until you realize this thing weighs 6,200 pounds. It's a bloated electric brick that drives like one. Acceleration is decent at 3.5 seconds to 60 miles per hour, but the handling is numb, the steering is lifeless, and the ride quality is harsh. But here's where it gets really bad. The Wagoneer S starts at $78,400. Let that sink in. You're paying nearly $80,000 for a Jeep EV with Stellantis build quality. Owners are already reporting panel gaps, squeaks and rattles, and electrical issues right off the delivery truck. And let's talk about charging. Despite the 100 kilowatt-hour battery, the Wagoneer S only supports 150 kilowatts DC fast charging. That's pathetically slow for 2026. A 10 to 80% charge takes an hour, which makes long trips unbearable. Meanwhile, the Rivian R1S exists. Better range, better build quality, better off-road capability, and it costs $75,000. Or you could get a Tesla Model X for similar money with a proven charging network. Why pay $78,400 for Stellantis-grade problems wrapped in a Jeep badge? Nobody wants this thing. Yes. Honda Prologue. Number 4 is the Honda Prologue at 289 days. Nearly 9,800 of them are sitting at dealers with an average price of $54,700. The Prologue is Honda's first mass-market EV, and it's a complete betrayal of everything Honda stands for. This isn't a Honda. It's a Chevy Blazer EV with a Honda badge, same GM Ultium platform, same GM battery, same GM software. Honda just slapped their logo on it and called it a day. That 85 kilowatt-hour battery delivers 296 miles of range, which sounds adequate until you experience the real-world performance. Owners report seeing 220 to 240 miles in mixed driving, with range dropping to 180 miles in cold weather. That's a 35% shortfall from EPA estimates. But here's what really kills buyer confidence. The Prologue inherits all of GM's software problems: infotainment crashes, charging errors, phantom battery drain. Honda's legendary reliability means nothing when the entire vehicle is built by GM owners are furious that their Honda is falling apart like a Chevy. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. You can buy a Chevy Blazer EV for $48,000. That's $6,700 less for the exact same vehicle. Why would anyone pay a Honda premium for a car built by GM? The Prologue is fool's gold. Why pay $54,700 for a Chevy and Honda clothing when you can get the real thing for less? The Prologue doesn't stand a chance. Ram 1500 REV. At number 3, we've got the all-new Ram 1500 REV at 328 days. Over 3,400 of them, sitting at an average price of $84,200. Ram spent years hyping this as the ultimate electric truck. The reality? It's a disaster wrapped in a Ram badge. That 168 kilowatt-hour battery is supposed to deliver 350 miles of range, but real-world testing shows 260 to 280 miles in mixed driving, and when towing, drop that to 140 miles. That's unusable for actual truck buyers. But here's where it gets catastrophic. The Ram REV weighs 8,500 pounds. That's heavier than an F-250 Super Duty. All that weight destroys handling, increases tire wear, and makes this thing a liability in emergency maneuvers. Owners describe it as driving a cruise ship. And the charging infrastructure? Ram partnered with Electrify America, which is notorious for broken chargers and slow speeds. Even when chargers work, the REV only hits 150 kilowatts peak charging, despite Ram claiming 250 kilowatts capability. A 10 to 80% charge takes 90 minutes. That's unacceptable for a truck marketed toward the people who actually work. But here's the death blow. Ford dropped the F-150 Lightning price to $62,000, while Ram is asking $84,200. That's a $22,000 price gap, And the Lightning has a proven track record, a better dealer network, and actually works. The monthly payment on an $84,200 Ram REV at current interest rates exceeds $1,600. That's more than most people's rent. Why pay that for Stellantis quality when the Lightning exists? Yeah, people are passing. Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. Number 2 is the Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV at 376 days. Over 1,900 of them are sitting at dealers with an average price of $114,500. Mercedes built a $115,000 electric SUV that nobody wants. That MBUX Hyperscreen looks impressive in press photos, but in reality, it's a laggy, fingerprint-covered mess that distracts from driving. Critical functions are buried in submenus, requiring 3 taps to adjust climate control or disable lane keeping. That 107.8 kilowatt-hour battery delivers 305 miles of range, which is pathetic for a 6-figure luxury SUV. The Lucid Gravity offers 440 miles for similar money. The BMW iX offers better driving dynamics. The Range Rover Sport PHEV offers actual off-road capability. The EQS SUV does nothing better than any competitor. But here's what really kills it. The design is hideous. That blob-like aerodynamic shape makes it look like a melted bar of soap. Luxury buyers want presence, and the EQS SUV has zero curb appeal. You can't even tell it apart from the cheaper EQE or EQB. And reliability? Mercedes electric vehicles have been a disaster. Owners report brake-by-wire failures, suspension failures, and electrical gremlins from day one. We're talking about $3,000 repair bills on vehicles under 10,000 miles. Mercedes pushed massive lease incentives to move these. $15,000 lease credits on a $115,000 vehicle. When your flagship is being discounted like a Nissan Sentra, you've lost. Why pay $114,500 for a melted soap bar with reliability issues? Nobody wants this thing. Ford Mustang Mach-E Rally. This is it. The absolute worst-selling vehicle dealers cannot move. The Ford Mustang Mach-E Rally is sitting at 412 days of market supply. That's over 13 months of inventory. Over 2,600 of them are rotting on dealer lots with an average price of $68,900. So what the hell happened? Ford took the already polarizing Mach-E and made it worse. The Rally Edition adds off-road suspension, all-terrain tires, and rally-inspired styling for a $10,000 premium over the standard GT. But here's the problem. Nobody asked for an off-road electric crossover wearing a Mustang badge. The Rally's suspension is tuned for dirt roads, which makes it ride like a truck on pavement. That softer setup increases body roll, makes highway driving floaty, and ruins the mach-E's best quality, its handling. You're paying extra to make the car worse at everything it's supposed to do well. But it gets worse. Those all-terrain tires destroy the range. The Rally's EPA rating is 250 miles, but real-world testing shows 190 to 210 miles in mixed driving. That's a 20% range hit compared to the standard Mach-E GT. You're paying more money for less capability. And here's the death blow. The market for $69,000 electric crossovers collapsed. At that price, buyers are cross-shopping Tesla Model Y Performance, $52,000, Genesis Electrified GV70, $65,000, and even base Porsche Macan EVs. All of those offer better brand prestige, better range, or better value. But the real problem, Mustang purists hate it for not being a real Mustang. EV buyers hate it for pretending to be off-road capable, and off-road buyers won't touch an EV. Ford created a vehicle for a market that doesn't exist. That's the Mach-E Rally, a $69,000 solution to a problem nobody had, sitting on dealer lots for over a year because Ford fundamentally misread what buyers actually want. So there you have it, 15 new cars that are absolutely rotting on dealer lots with zero buyers. The common thread: overpricing, identity crises, and manufacturers building vehicles for markets that don't exist. What do you think? Would you buy any of these at a massive discount? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button. Next week I am breaking down the trucks losing the most value in 2026. Thanks for watching.